I cannot find a shred of DNA or fingerprint evidence that states a struggle took place on Ethan's spacecraft, Mars Parson told me over my commlet later that night. I sat at the table in my studio, drawing my latest piece. The spacecraft was set to self-destruct. Do you have any reason to think Ethan would commit? No, he would never do that, I told her, looking over at the scene Samantha drew earlier in the day. I picked up the top picture. It was of a house deep in the woods. A pool of what appeared to be blood on the porch. As I flipped through the scenes, I caught sight of one with a man grabbing Ethan. I think we are looking at this all wrong. I don't think the murder happened on the spacecraft. That's what I have been trying to tell you. No, I responded, picking up my Quan pad. I dashed off a message to Tony. I believe I know where it occurred. Mars, I've got to go. I think I found something. I studied Samantha's drawings, searching them for details. I must have been so engrossed in it because I didn't hear Tony enter the room. He cleared his throat. You wanted to see me? I nodded and revealed, Mars Parson called me. She cannot find evidence that the struggle or murder occurred on the spacecraft. He pressed his shoulder against the wall near the doorframe. Then the murder happened somewhere else, and the body was put on the spacecraft. The murder could have occurred anywhere. It could have occurred anywhere, but I think, I responded, handing him the drawings, it occurred here. He closed the gap between us and took the drawings from me, flipping through them. I then think that the body was put on the spacecraft, which, I know from Mars, was set to self-destruct. Okay, I see someone grabbing Ethan, a pool of blood in another scene and a person arguing with Ethan, Tony ventured. I sensed frustration from him. Waving the drawings in the air, he said with grave deliberation, this place could be anywhere. He met my gaze. Who drew these? Samantha. She's talented. He looked at the ones in front of me and prompted, are those yours? I nodded. I see artistic talent runs in the family. He tilted his head and gave me a sidelong glance. What makes you think that her pictures represent the murder? I twisted my mouth, then I said in a dismissive tone, it's just a gut feeling. What was I supposed to say? I know they are because I feel the anger and sadness she experienced when she watched them in reality, as if an icy cold hand grasped my heart. I just got her talking to me. I don't want her to shut down by asking her too many questions. Tony countered, you know if she is a witness, she has to be interviewed. I get that. I do, but when she arrived, she wouldn't talk at all. I raked my eyes over Tony, who wore a long-sleeved, buttoned-down, baby blue shirt with black slacks. Something about him seemed relaxed, rested and, even happy. I wondered if Abby did that for him. Maybe being away from his family and the press. Perhaps he finally realized no one could bail him out of this situation, and he had to survive on his own. Whatever the reason, it looked good on him. He was handsome in a pretty boy sort of way, but this glow he possessed now made him appear more good-looking and grounded. I just want to give her a little time before we bombard her with questions. I wagged my thumb at him and decided, I have a meeting with Dr. Dakota. I will have him advise me on this situation. Okay, but she might be our best shot at solving this case. I also found out from some of my contacts that Ethan and Scarlett had a lot more secrets than I knew about. Such as? Such as Ethan was in major debt. I do not know how. His trust fund was worth millions, I revealed, rubbing the muscles in my neck. Scarlett was in WPP because she and Samantha witnessed the murder of a person high in the Crimson Fleet. I drew in a deep breath and then remarked, I don't know who is higher than Philippe Locke, Ethan's cousin. Samantha was only one at the time. Tony contended, pulled out a chair and sat. I have a contact that also said that Ethan and Philippe had a falling out, and, leaning back in the chair, that he angered quite a few people in Philippe's administration. I maintained, meeting Tony's gaze. I also have one that said someone at Locke Enterprises found out about Ethan's marriage to Scarlett and told his parents. I narrowed my eyes, recalling the conversation I had with Ethan's parents. When I talked to them, they showed no emotion whatsoever. I know different people grieve in different ways, but they were eerily calm. He stared at me, widening his eyes. Are you accusing his parents of killing him? I shook my head. I just found their reaction odd. Tony prompted, letting his eyes move to the art on the wall. What about the leak in the WPP? I heard from one of my contacts that Ethan was close to finding the mole when he was killed. I agreed, picking up my pencil again. That's what Johnny and Jessa heard too, but we still don't know who the leak is and how to plug it up. I started sketching. Ethan could have been killed by the Crimson Fleet, Tony concluded, watching me sketch a face, by someone who wanted the merger between Madrid Industries and Locke Enterprises, or the leak in the WPP. I glanced up at him. Or one of the other two could have a plant in the WPP. Or it could be someone else altogether. Or that. Why don't I find out what I can within Madrid Industries and Locke Enterprises since I grew up in that world, and, drawing an eye, you look into the Philippe Locke angle. Let's start there while, shading in the turns of the eye, keeping an ear out for anyone working for one or the other that has ties to the WPP. That sounds like a plan, he consented. He scrutinized me for a moment. What's up with you and that doctor of yours? And why is my mother insisting he is the one to head this top-secret project? I gather it is some kind of humanitarian endeavor. He is an excellent doctor who loves to give aid to towns and cities that are less fortunate than he is, I responded. I could feel my lips inching up at the corners. He has developed breakthrough therapies for diseases that were wiping out planets. He was up for a Nobel Prize. He should have won too. Wow. I know you two were together for a long time. I gather that he thought you were cheating because of the project. I looked away, then returned my eyes to his. He knows what I was saying was true now, thanks to your mother. He since apologized. I forgave him long ago, but we are different people. We agreed to get to know who we are now. I sense there is still something going on there, Tony returned, running his fingers through his hair. If that didn't happen, if he didn't accuse you of cheating, would you still be together? I don't know. We suffered a terrible tragedy right before all that. One that I have never gotten over. I'm talking to Dr. Dakota, but... I let my voice trail off. He shifted in his seat. Why didn't you two get married? Why date for that long? I was afraid. Afraid of getting hurt? I shook my head. No, afraid of him knowing the truth. I put my hand up. Don't judge me, but as my partner, you should know I am an empath. I can feel people's emotions. He shrugged his shoulders. Okay, you are an empath. I don't know much about empaths, but why? He is a man of science. If it isn't science and logic, he is not buying it. He has to fix everything, and I don't want to be fixed again. Again? I looked down, then I glanced up at him. My mother. She could not handle me being different. I think that's why she tried so hard to dictate my life. A knock came at the front entrance. I stood and led him through the hallway, around the furniture to the doors. I put my hand to the side to open them. A woman with alabaster-colored skin rushed past me. Her long, auburn hair fell in waves about her shoulders. Her makeup and nails perfectly done. She straightened her spaghetti strap, short, black dress, wrinkling her nose as she looked around the room. How do you live in such cozy quarters? You are the commander of this space base. Can't you move to something more, I don't know, spacious? Nice to see you too, Hayden, I greeted as a darker-skinned man moved in front of me. His dark eyes ran over me as he touched my arm with his large hand. Don't listen to her, Alex, he returned, running his fingers through his jet-black hair. It is quite nice. Good to see you. He kissed my cheek. Then he smoothed out his brown leather jacket and dark jeans before heading into the living room. You too, Phoenix, I responded as a man with skin the color of a cafe latte with curly, coal-black hair and a large nose in the middle of his long face walked toward me. He wore a white muscle shirt and jeans. Hello, Raj. He kissed my cheek and moved past me to join the others. A woman with long, wavy, medium brown hair raked her icy blue eyes over me. Her face, the color of bone china. She wore a flowery, purple dress and gold hoop earrings. She pulled me in for an embrace. Sloan. Tony hung out by the hallway. Gesturing to him, I announced, everyone, this is Tony Ashton, my new partner. Fancy, Sloan exclaimed, taking a seat on the L of the couch. The president's son for a partner. I introduced, motioning to her, this is Sloan Gabrielle. Parents have been in politics since before she was born. Pointing to the guys who perched on the bar stools near the kitchen, Phoenix and Raj. Phoenix's father is a high-profile judge and Raj's mother founded the technology company that gave us diag monitors and the other medical equipment we use in our hospital. Then I motioned to the woman still complaining about my quarters and provided, and that is Hayden. Her parents are old-school rich, coming from the New York wilds who created the transportation system we have in all spacecrafts and space vessels. Wow. We have some classy people in this group, Tony remarked, surveying the people around the room. I'm guessing you are Alex's gang. When he saw them nod, he pressed, what is the word? Phoenix, or Nix as we called him, spoke up first, pulling a quan pad from the inside pocket of his jacket. 15 years ago, Ethan gave me this to give to you in the event that he... 6 months ago, he updated it. He said that the truth is on here, and what you will be hearing and discovering will be the surface. He wanted to give you the depth. Nix climbed off the stool and walked it over to me. I thanked him as I watched him move back to his seat. I activated it with Tony looking over my shoulder. Lexi, I started, glancing up at the group. That was his nickname for me. He didn't want to call me Alex like everyone else. He said he wanted it to be only his name for me, just like I am the only one who called him E. I looked down and read aloud, if you are reading this, something happened to me. These are the documents I have collected over the years that will lead you to find who did this to me. By now, you know about our daughter, Samantha. I'm sorry I kept her from you, but I need to tell the real story. Someone in the Lock Industries organization found out we stored your eggs. My heart pounded, and my lips dried. I licked them before continuing. My parents' plan was to implant your eggs and my sperm into a surrogate. They wanted to create a child, yours and mine, as an insurance policy that the merger would happen, even if it was when Samantha was at the helm. I handed it to Tony and bid, read the rest. I began pacing the floor from the hallway to the doorway and back again several times. I have a source at Lock Industries who alerted me. I took the surrogate, Scarlett, and hid her out until the baby was born. Tony picked up, glancing over at me. My parents have put out an all-out search for Samantha. They want her back. I turned to the wall and slapped it. I swung around and decided, this, right here is why I do not associate with these people. They want my daughter. I refuse to let them have her. I don't want her to live that life. Hayden demanded, burrowing her eyes through me, you have a daughter with Ethan? Raj snapped, surveying Hayden, keep up, will you? Ethan's parents created her through a surrogate to make sure the merger goes through. He nodded for Tony to proceed. Tony went on, that is why you have to keep her safe. My source, Amelia Ray, was killed recently, but her widower has all the information. His dad's right-hand person, I clarified, raking my eyes around the room. She was killed in an automobile crash about 6 months ago. Sloane leaned forward and said in a low tone, rumor has it they have teamed up with Philippe and will kill whoever has her. They take my eggs and their son's sperm, create a child and then want to take her from her biological parents, I blared, throwing my hands up in the air. And who knows if my parents are involved, and do they know about Samantha? Not that we are aware, Raj maintained, catching my eye. However, from what Ethan told me, he determined the WPP leak wasn't connected to the merger. It seemed to be a person upset at Ethan for taking him down. Unfortunately, we do not know who. Okay, so, I ventured, staring at nothing in particular, if Scarlett was the surrogate, did Ethan just pretend to be married to her? Was it a marriage of convenience, or were they really in love? Raj answered, holding my gaze, they fell in love while he was trying to keep the baby safe and got married. She tried to raise Samantha, but she couldn't handle the fact that Samantha was someone else's child. Whether or not, my parents know. We are still going to keep her in disguise until they leave, I informed the group, pacing again. So we still have a leak in the WPP, and we can add the locks to the list and possibly my parents. I suddenly felt dizzy and grabbed the arm of the couch as I moved past it. All of the energy drained from me, and my knees buckled, sending me into a puddle on the floor. Everything around me suddenly went black.